back to the LaunchFamily Podcast, where we have real conversations that help parents feel less overwhelmed and more equipped. I'm your host, Jessica Shelley, a former teacher, mom of 7, and co-founder of LaunchFamily. Today, we're talking about something that impacts every family, whether your kids are toddlers, tweens, or teens. We're talking about technology, not from a fear-based place and not from a just let them figure it out place, but from a practical, grounded, modern parenting place. Our guest today is Sue Atkins, former deputy head and teacher for 22 years, parenting author, broadcaster, and the host of Navigating the Digital Jungle with Sue Atkins and Friends. Sue is known for giving parents what they're actually craving: scripts, simple action steps, and confidence to set the boundaries that keep kids safe while still letting them enjoy technology. Sue, I am so glad to have you on the show today.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. I can't wait to get stuck in.
I can't wait to learn. Like, selfishly, I'm like, okay, I need all of this information. I've got kiddos that are toddlers and later elementary. I'm not quite into the tweens and teens yet, but I'm sure that we have parents listening in too. So, I want to give a little bit of context too for our listeners that might be hearing about you for the first time. So can you give us like high level, like what's your background? What pulled you into the digital parenting space?
So I was a teacher and former deputy head teacher for 22 years. And then I retrained after my father and my mother died within the same year of each other, actually. So I had a rethink about where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And I started writing. I was invited to write some books about parenting. I started my parent coaching. And in recent years, I've noticed that I was being inundated, when I'm on the television or where I'm on BBC Radio or wherever I go in the media, about questions around technology and devices. And it started off really about smartphones and how can I help support families with all the devices. And I want to say straight up, I am pro-tech, but I'm protect as well, because I think kids need protection from some of it, and we need to talk and teach them how to use it wisely. And so that's where it came from, really. And then I started the podcast, Navigating the Digital Jungle, because I wanted to reach a lot of people who were asking the same sort of questions. I could answer it on the podcast, and then lots of people could hear it and get some tips. And that led to my latest book, which is full of scripts about how do you start those conversations with kids. Parents lack confidence. They don't always understand how to talk about, privacy settings or safety settings or roadblocks or WhatsApp. So I started the scripts, and there's loads of them on my website that people can download. And then there's the new book that has, covers all sorts of subjects, really. So it's all about practical tips. It's not judging or tut-tutting or finger pointing. It's difficult with kids. All their friends have technology. So you've got to kind of navigate it with confidence and know how to protect them at the same time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think like you hit it right on the head is like pro tech, right? Like we're in this digital age. There's no escaping really the technology. Gosh, we even have like digital menus at restaurants now. But also protect. Like what should we be doing in order to help them leverage technology, still utilize it while protecting them? And even ourselves, right? Like sometimes we don't even realize what we're opening.
I know,
And
and they're watching us. They're watching what we do with
yeah.
our tech. So if they come out of school and your head's down on your phone, or you're at the dinner table and you're on your phone, that's a block there. There's a wall that comes up, and kids can get naughty, or they can feel that they're not important.
Oh my gosh, what a great point of like self-reflection too. And protect in the sense of like protecting your time and that connection, that relationship as well. Um, what are some of the most common questions that parents ask you like right now when it comes to technology? Like what are those hot topics?
First one is, when should I give my child a smartphone?
Mm.
How do I set boundaries without constant battles? It becomes quite heated, doesn't it, in the home? Um, what do I say when they're constantly on screens all the time and I can't get their attention, or I can't get them down from the bedroom for dinner? And how do I keep them safe online without spying on them? There's this whole dilemma of how do we manage it? So the next one is also, how do we talk to our kids about AI? Because it's changing so quickly from one week to the next, isn't it?
So true. So true. I think like that's been one of the hot topics in our house. Mostly because I use AI for some of the things that I do for work or like brainstorming or like structuring ideas and things. And so they see me using it again, like to your point about how
Mm.
they're watching us all the time. But then it's
Yeah.
also like, okay, well, we homeschool and they're like, well, why can't I use the computer? And it's like, well, you can, but we're going to have guardrails on what's actually going to happen when you're
Mhm.
using this as a tool, not as a replacement for actual thinking.
And I
Uh,
think that's the important word, the word tool. It is
mm,
a tool to help, and it's not an automatic right that children, particularly younger children, should be on smartphones or on the iPad all the time. It's about balance, isn't it? And maturity and talking with them about balance and eventually helping them to self-regulate their use, which they can't do when they're young. And, I see all these parents meaning well, but handing over the smartphone in restaurants to 2-year-olds. And of course, that's where the habits start. They start too early. And children, they're damaged. They become quite passive. They don't play. They don't talk. They're arriving in school, certainly here in the UK, unable to sort of hold conversations, and their concentration is poor. And they even swipe books, rather than understand that you have a story read to you. And the joy of reading to children is a bit lost as well. So there are so many benefits to it, but it has to be incremental, and children have to learn about it, and you have to teach them, and you have to be kind of brave and courageous to sometimes say no. You know yourself, you've got children. I used to say no to my children at the checkout in the supermarket when they wanted sweets, or they come down for breakfast, they want biscuits before they have their proper breakfast. And you're quite confident to say no because it's not good for them. So it's how you say it, though. If you're angry or if you're dismissive or you're not, you don't appear to be listening to them, then children feel, hard done by and they don't understand. So it's about your tone of voice. It's about your body language and very clear on your rules. And if you have a partner, it's the same thing. Both sing from the same song sheet so they don't play one parent off against the other.
Well, that's another key like piece, right? Like and especially like caregivers like in my I'm thinking about external circles too, which is like school, where it's like okay, they might have time where they're supposed to be on a tablet or a Chromebook or some sort of technology device, right? At school. And then you can still have your own set of rules and expectations at home. And then
Yes,
whoever else is in that circle, like are they going to grandparents, aunts and uncles? Maybe you
yes,
have a partner
yeah.
in the home, like, how can you all kind of be on the same page? Because it gets complicated, especially when technology is everywhere.
And so
Um,
that's why you gotta talk. Talk together, don't talk at each other, and just have a few simple rules. Some simple things like, charge your phone downstairs, certain ages of children, charge them downstairs, not in the bedrooms. No tech in the bedroom before bed, certainly. And at meal times, lock them away in phone jail or in a hat or in another room or something so that you talk with your children. You don't nag about holding the knife and fork properly or eating the vegetables or the broccoli. You have proper conversations. So you stay active in your child's life. So it's compelling to come off the device and play, talk, explore, do all those things that we used to do before smartphones took us over.
right, right. That human connection piece, I think, that we often miss because of the technology that's present. So I love that you talk about like setting the boundaries or the guardrails. One of the specific phrases that stood out when we initially connected was that you say safety settings, not necessarily a privacy settings. So walk us through that a little bit because that was really insightful when we initially connected, and we've got to share the wealth here.
Well, I mean, language matters, doesn't it, actually? And people talk about parental controls. Now, that's sort of okay when you're about 7 or 8, I suppose. But when you hit 15, you go, right, you just want to go against your parents in everything. So parental controls will go, well, how do I get around that on a VPN or how do I get around that? So I started to talk to parents that I work with and call them safety settings rather than even privacy settings. And let's do it together and explain why it's important. You don't have to frighten your kids, but you say, I want to protect you from inappropriate content that's not suitable for your age, something that might frighten you, something that might, stay with you too too long that you're not supposed to see. So I want to make sure you don't see that whilst having some fun with other bits of it. So they can see that there's a reason behind it, that there's a balance. So language really matters on that. And I like the word let's do it together, even if they are teenagers, so that, you're kind of doing it, but not to them. You're doing it with them, and you're doing it with love. And they understand that. You have boundaries around alcohol and junk food and sugar, so put it around some of your tech.
Yeah, what a great comparison too, because the conversations that we have around like junk food or healthy eating, right? Like we're talking about
Yes.
alternatives. So it's like, oh yeah, well, we're going to spend more time as a family. And because of that, we're going to set a guardrail around how much time we're going to have on this or what settings. Or I actually recently set my phone to like shut down at 9 o'clock p.m. So everything gets locked. And so even if we're like watching like that, my kids love to watch like our family videos and stuff, and so we'll like screencast it and like we'll watch like our pictures and videos and stuff from the phone, and then they're like, oh mom, your phone, it's all messed up, and I'm like, I told you guys it's 9 o'clock. Well, we're past bedtime by like an hour. What's going on here? But it's also great quality time. So
But you know what?
um
But Jessica, that's a great thing because they can see that you put guardrails around yourself. You put timing around it because they're watching us. They're learning from us. They're listening to us. They're observing. You can talk a good game, but if you actually it crashes at 9, then they can see you mean it, that you are setting boundaries for yourself, which is good when you set them for them or when they learn to set them for themselves.
Yeah, and I think honestly, it kind of goes along with what you had mentioned about like we're doing this like together, right? Like this is
Yeah,
a family thing. If we can
yeah,
also hold ourselves to those standards that we also want for
that's right.
them, with
Yeah,
those boundaries,
yeah,
and that's helpful. And I want to talk a little bit more about like the child development piece because I know as an educator for over 22 years, we have some things in common here because my educational experience was really in kinder through second. My kiddos are, all the way up to 9 years old right now. So I've got a little bit of kids that are older than what I taught, but how would you recommend that parents kind of think about those boundaries for ages like 4 to 7, 8 to 11, and then teens? Like, could you kind of break that down for us based on their
sure.
development?
Yeah, well, I think it's important, isn't it, that, 4 to 7, they need very simple, clear limits. They need shared screens. Excuse me, I got a cold. No personal devices. Build play, build boredom, build imagination into their lives so they get this balance. 8 to 11s, introduce devices slowly. Have some family rules, not too many, but a few. No phones or devices in the bedrooms at night, just a rule. And start those conversations now about kindness and safety and empathy. If you wouldn't say it in real life, why would you say it online and be unkind? So talk and teach them about kindness. It's all about talking and teaching and being connected with them. And of course, teens then want more independence and you have more dialogue. I think don't come heavy handed about this stuff because they'll switch off and they'll find ways round it. So talk with them and then introduce gradual freedoms as they show some responsibility around using their devices. And, you know, just talk with them. And if you can, say, well, look, there's too much, you're on too much. What do you think we can do to give you a bit of balance? Because if you ask them, they have agency and they have a voice, they've got opinions, and then they buy into that themselves. And then for younger children, perhaps you put up some, get them to draw some pictures or colouring in and stick it on the fridge so that everyone buys into it. And then as a parent, do have some consequences if they don't do that. What are you going to do about that? Are they going to test you? Because kids do all the time. But the other analogy or the metaphor I use with parents is that it's like riding a bicycle. You have the wheels on the bicycle when you're learning to stabilize yourself. And then once they show they can balance and they can do it themselves, then you loosen those and you take off those wheels or those guardrails, as we call them, don't we? So freedom grows with their maturity. And if they can show that they can be sensible. But one key thing here, no matter what age they are, always encourage them to come and talk to you if there's something goes wrong or they see something horrible. Because most parents get all annoyed, get angry, take the phone away, and that's not the right reaction. They've been frightened, they've been shocked, they've been distressed. So they must always come to a safe adult and that we will sort this out together. Because also when you hear of older children, sometimes they end up with so much shame that sometimes they take their own lives, and that's a real extreme example. But you don't want children to suffer this on their own because we all pop in to see something sometimes we don't mean it and it'll pop up and frighten us. So we don't want that for our children. And if they do see anything or they're concerned or they want to have a conversation, always put down whatever you're doing and look and listen and talk with them, not at them.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really great point too. Like in the US, there's been a couple stories about children that have been harming themselves because they think that the AI that they're talking to is like a friend, or the AI has told them to do
Mhm,
something. And specifically about
mhm.
AI. So I kind of want to shift the conversation there.
Yeah, yeah.
What are you seeing with kids that are interacting with AI, or like the chatty tools that kind of feel a little bit more human than what we've been exposed to before?
One of the key things then is to tell them it's a tool, not a friend. It comes across as terribly chatty, friendly, very positive, you know, and they say, oh, instantly bonding with that. But then you get, Elon Musk created some very nasty characters actually called Bad Rudy, Valentine, Amelia. These are, they suddenly turn very sexual very quickly. And if your child is talking and interacting with them, they will be shocked. And also, they're not prepared for it. So you need to talk and teach them about AI. And I know it keeps changing all the time. And I know there are some fantastic aspects to it in terms of medical research or something like that. But it's not a friend, it's a tool. And there are lots of studies, unfortunately, where young teenagers start down that route of chatting to it. And then they really, go down a very difficult route, but it's not a real person. So you've got to talk to them about that and again come off it and explain to them simply to come and talk with you if they've got a worry or they've got a concern or, it's different if they're looking up something perhaps for homework, but if they're looking for emotional support, this isn't really the best tool possible.
I love that you broke that up too, because it is a tool, right? Like it's like the way that I kind of think about it too is like a Google, right? Like you're not going to go to Google for how you're feeling. You're going to Google for a search or to like find the structure of something. You're doing research. Whereas with AI, like the lines feel blurred sometimes because
Yeah,
it is
do. Yeah.
so like chat based, as you had mentioned. So
And
for
it's so
parents,
intuitive, isn't it, as well? And you feel the way it replies to you. Oh,
right.
right. Oh, hello, Sue. How are you today? And all that. And you think, oh, you forget that it's actually just a robot or a tool or an
Right.
algorithm. And so that's really important because there's been some stuff in the news even this week with Meta and here in the UK with something called Jules Law, where there are changes and to protect children all the time. Because let's be really candid, big tech are not going to protect your children. They're making money out of us all of us, and in particular children. So we need to talk and teach them about the dangers or the thing about being manipulated or exploited. And teens don't like that idea that, their time is being hijacked and traded for someone else to make money off them. So that's they start thinking, you start talking because they're older about that sort of stuff, they start to rethink about their own use of being online, Because the other thing that's really important to talk to them about is the dopamine hit. You go on, you're looking for something, you scroll, and I'm the same. We all get hooked in, and then you get kind of buzzed up, and you like the instant chat, or you like WhatsApp because that's as addictive as anything when you're sort of in love, or 15 or 16, backwards and forwards, and then when you come off, you feel a crash. And that can be difficult to contend with. So talk about it. And I had a guest on my podcast, and she said her 16-year-old one day came off and he said to her, oh, Mum, no, I'm in the dopamine crash. So he knew exactly what was happening to himself, which is
I love
great
that.
because that means he's self aware, And then he said, oh, gosh, I better go for a run or go and do something in the garden or something. But he recognized that he had, got buzzed up and a bit addicted to it. And that is the dangers of being addicted to it now, unfortunately, for us all.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What a great example, too, of like the common language, right? Like it's clear that your guest had talked to their son about what was going on.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think like the common thread that I'm hearing too is just like the communication and like the partnering with
Mm,
your child
all the
to
time.
navigate these conversations, the tools, the boundaries, the
Yeah.
guardrails. Because ultimately, like, they're going to be the one who's responsible for what's going to happen when they're, grown.
Yeah.
So the more that we can equip them with information, as we know, because technology
Yeah.
changes so
Yeah.
quickly,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, the better there. And I guess like for parents that maybe aren't as in tune with like what's going on with tech or what's going on with AI, like it feels like things are moving at like warp speed. Do you have any recommendation for parents on where they can start if they're feeling behind or intimidated when it comes to these conversations?
Just have the mindset of curiosity. It's not an age thing. You can still be, like grandma. My kid's grandma was 70 and very interested in stuff and wanting to learn how to do stuff. So it's not an age thing, but be curious. Ask your kids, why do you like that? What are you playing? And even with games, get them sometimes to do a Dragon's Den or something where they have to pitch why they want that app. You don't just go, oh, yeah, sure, have that app because oh, you're playing that and you're buying this and it's very violent. And so they need to sort of pitch to you why they want it and whether you think it's appropriate. And that will make them think about whether it's appropriate or actually suitable or fun. But it's all about communication. It's all about conversations. And if nothing else, you are your child's best protection. Yes, you put privacy settings or, whatever you call safety settings, or you try and buy stuff that makes sure they can't access this and they can't access that. But there's nothing like being able to talk with them and teach them digital literacy. There's a load of talk around the world about banning smartphones, banning stuff in schools. And that is a start. And I'm keen on delaying, not denying, delaying, and give your kids hope. If they're 11, when they tend to change school here in the UK, loads of kids get their phones at 11. If you can delay that a little bit with a brick phone, that doesn't have access to the internet but can contact you if you need to, and it's a smart watch or something, it looks quite trendy. It's much better, the research shows, because they're more mature by the time they're sort of 14 to get something like that. And you've talked with them. You've tried to guide them and educate them and yourself around trying to stay safe with some of this and then finding that elusive balance. So that's really, really important, I think, that you talk all the time with them and keep up because it does change and go quickly. And you can't just say, well, in my day, we didn't have. That's not going to hack it anymore, is it?
Oh my gosh, so true. I mean, even and I feel like I'm not even that old, like, but like technology has changed so quickly in the last like 10, 15 years. And with AI, we're seeing that
Yeah.
it's moving at even faster rates, right?
Oh, yeah.
Um, one of the things that you had mentioned early on is that you're really known for your scripts. And so I want to give a
Yes.
sample too for the parents that are listening in, specifically about that delaying a smartphone request, because I think that that's a big one where that's like that
Yeah.
transitional point. So,
Yeah.
could you run us through what a sample script would look like for,
Sure.
talking about delaying the smartphone?
Sure. If you go to navigatingthedigitalJungle.com, I have a free download about smartphones. So it's the first thing that pops up. Just put your, email in there. You'll get that sent directly to you to give you some ideas, give you some scripts, give you some confidence, really, in saying no. And they go, well, everyone else has one. So the thing is, in the heat of the moment, don't let it be the heat of the moment. Plan ahead a little bit, think about what you might say, how you might say it. Don't react, kind of respond to it. So, for example, something like, I know lots of your friends have phones. In our family, we're waiting a bit longer because your brain needs sleep. And I feel you need confidence around using a phone. And I don't feel it's appropriate for you just yet. You will get one, but just not for your birthday or for Christmas or now. Um, and when you do get it, we're going to set it up together so you can enjoy it safely. My job is to guide you while you're learning. I'm not here to be a killjoy. and spoil your fun. I'm here to make sure you're safely using the devices. And that they can't argue with that really. And then another one, if they're a bit, feel there's a bit of a pushback going on, you go, I can hear you're frustrated and I'm not changing the boundary, but I am here to talk about it. So, they won't like it, but just think of them as toddlers when they were little and they wanted that biscuit, before breakfast. You said no because you know it wasn't the right thing to do. And there's so much research now to show that it's not the right thing to give a child a device. And the other thing to remember, actually, if you're in a restaurant and you've got younger children and you just hand over your device or your phone and you haven't put on safety or privacy settings, you don't know what they're watching. And if they then go into that autoplay, that is another real problem because you don't know the adverts. And then you go off to do the laundry or peel the potatoes. And then you realize, oh God, it's been an hour and a half or 2 hours and they're still on it when you go to check on them or they're in bed or something. So just be mindful, turn off, if you do nothing else from listening to me today, turn off autoplay and take back a little bit more control of it. That's all it is. Just little things you can do. You don't have to do them all. Just make some small changes that will, over time, I think, make a big difference.
Yeah, what like great tips too. And I'm thinking about like the settings that I have on my phone and the context of when I actually hand my phone over to my kiddos. And one of the other things too for parents to maybe look into that's worked well for us is guided access. So you can set that up
Oh,
to like lock down the device into like whatever app
brilliant.
they're in. So my 4-year-old,
Yeah,
she loves to play like a preschool app where she can like
yeah,
trace letters and stuff. And so we turn
yeah.
on guided access so that she can't navigate to any other app. Like she's just in this
Brilliant.
one
Yeah,
preschool
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So
Yeah. So that's
look
a
for what your device
great
settings can be because that can also be helpful.
that's a great tip. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, as we wrap up, like if a parent has been hearing all of this and maybe they're feeling a little overwhelmed by what we've discussed, what is one thing that they can do this week that will actually create that momentum for, what's to come?
You don't need to be a perfect parent in the digital world. There is no such thing as a perfect parent, just a real one. There's a poster that goes round on social media that I said one day, and people have made it into a poster. But we do need present ones, and we do mean mindful parents who are using technology mindfully. You've considered it. You're thinking about your own use and you're thinking about access to certain things, age appropriate and mature. Because a child can be 12 but quite immature, or a child can be 12 and very mature. So, you know your child better than anybody else. But just make some small changes, like, and have calm conversation. Don't do it in the heat of the moment. Be calm. I always say, strike when the iron is cold and have some consistent boundaries around tech. That can make a huge difference over time. Like we have, like I said to you, about junk food or alcohol or sugar or whatever it is. So you just have those rules and the kids know what they are, and you have, consequences if you break the rules really on some of that. But, you know, also, I always say a smile is a curve that puts a lot of things straight. So do keep do keep a sense of, humor about some of it too, and notice what works well for your family and do more of it and what doesn't. There's loads of stuff on my website about, I don't believe in a great big digital detox for 3 weeks, and everyone's pulling their hair out. How about a daily detox of 20 minutes here and there? Far better to come off little and often, and then you build your stamina and your habit forming. Much better that. So there's loads of stuff on there that you can just download around activities to even do. You go, well, what do we do now? We've come off the device. What are we going to have to do now? So there's loads of things that you can do that aren't expensive. You just kind of go, oh yeah, well we can do that. We can turn off the telly and we can, look at photos of the family or whatever it might be for you.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And like you talked about a really key thing there, which was like the stamina piece, right? And even for ourselves as parents that are navigating this kind of adjustment or shift or change, the stamina piece for us, I think is also really important. Cause again, like you mentioned, like they're watching everything we're doing, right?
Yeah,
And especially when so much of like many jobs are even like tied to devices. Like you have to be
yeah,
accessible through your phone or computer or however and on the go all the time, right? So it's a really great way to, I think, you've described it really well, which is like the communication piece and having fun with it and explaining things, giving them the why, the resources. So, just so grateful to that this for this
Do you
conversation.
know, just before I go, I just want to
Yeah, yeah,
say,
yeah.
um, not all screen time is equal. So if you are using it for a recipe, right, you're cooking and you suddenly think, oh gosh, do I need tin tomatoes in this spaghetti? And you look it up. Say that out loud to your kids so they know that there's a reason why you're doing it. You're not just aimlessly scrolling on Instagram. If you're planning the shopping, you say, do we need butter? Right, okay, right, right, because you tend to put things on your notes on your phone, don't you? So there's all different uses of phones and they're not all bad. But if you talk to your kids about that sort of stuff, they can see when it's appropriate and when it isn't. And if you then say, well, I'm putting away my phone now because I've been on it too long and I feel a bit buzzed up, I'm going to put it away. Let's have a chat or let's play in the garden or whatever you want to do, cook a meal together or just sit and talk. Then they understand that that's how balance looks. We model it for our kids. And don't beat yourself up. We're all trying to navigate this digital jungle and it's not always easy.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And I appreciate you jumping in because that's such helpful context too, right? Like if you're my kids also love to like FaceTime their grandpa who lives across the country.
Yes, that's
And it's like,
brilliant.
okay, that's actually really great. Not just like scrolling
Brilliant.
on YouTube or social media or something, right? So
Brilliant.
I love that you talked about that and parents, keep that in the back of your mind too, of that kind of active use of technology versus maybe more the passive or the scroll, the dopamine
Yeah.
hits and stuff. So
Yeah.
well, Sue, oh my gosh, this was so helpful because it wasn't just about the fear or perfection and everything we have to do with technology. Oh my goodness. But it was more just about that awareness and building connection and the practical steps that actually work in real homes. So thank you for helping us contextualize what this can actually look like.
Oh, it's
Um,
been my pleasure. Really lovely to
yeah.
chat with you.
For parents that are listening in and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm behind. Well, here's the truth. You can start with one change this week, one boundary, one conversation, one new habit. Sue had mentioned her delaying smartphones guide. So we'll be sure to link that in the show notes along with her podcast, Navigating the Digital Jungle, so you can connect and get all the support and resources you need moving forward with this. If today's episode helped, be sure to share it with a parent who's navigating this same tech tension. Hey, share it with like your kid's class, right? Then y'all can be on the same page. Um, and just know that, more confidence, less conflict, and more time together as a family. So until next time, we'll see you on the next episode of the Launch Family Podcast.